switch to something more informal. But I guess we'll open it up now. I think I'll start off with a question that I was wondering about. I think you can probably both speak to different aspects of. My question is, I guess, kind of has two parts. The first one is, I guess in the United States, I feel like you both spoken to the fact that we kind of get a lot about the more political account of this and less about the humanitarian aid, or like Ferris, you were saying, we only hear about the chemical weapons. So I guess the first part of my question is, what would it take for there to be kind of a more balanced or more holistic view of the conflict in the specifically the American media? And then the second part is, if people want to stay informed, what are the best sources to kind of get that kind of information here, and where do you guys get your news?
I mean, I will be honest. I think the media does drive a lot of what's going on in the country right now, and the media has been very much focused on chemical weapons, on all of the political issues, the negotiations, and all of that side of things. So I do think that large responsibility lies on the media's shoulders for not doing a better job on this. So you should all write, to your whatever website, news site you go to and say, we want to see more humanitarian coverage. But barring that, there are a lot of sources out there. They just aren't probably as in your face as if you subscribe to the New York Times Online or whatever you read. And so you can go, there is a site called Relief Web. And Relief Web is basically where the humanitarian aid community at large, so the United Nations, aid organizations like Mercy Corps, and all of our colleague agencies, all put information up there. They put papers, research papers, press releases, and statements that is all focused on humanitarian issues. That's where I got the map from. So there's tons of maps about refugee flows, needs in the country. So that's a great place to look for more information.
Sure, just a couple other things. I mean, it's sort of, my background is in marketing, so I mean, it's not new, it's not news. So the fact, this is fact. Every day, anywhere from 100 to 200 people are getting killed. Today, I mean, every day, yesterday, today, tomorrow. That's just how it has been. But it doesn't get covered. When the revolution started, it was on every night. Anderson Cooper had Dr. Fuad Azamir, the Cooper institution. He was there, right? And he's actually an amazing supporter of the people of Syria. He's written a book called the Syrian Rebellion. It's really a good book. It was about a year ago, but it's still gives a lot of good background. But the idea is, unfortunately, it's very sad. It's killing's happening every day, but it's not new anymore, so it doesn't make it to news. So I think that's where I think those of us who are involved and active on the relief side of things or on the advocacy side of things, we need to do more PR work. It's very expensive work, and it's been during the chemical weapon crisis. We had a small campaign in DC. To sort of help influence the decision. It's just very expensive, and a lot of people rather just pay, donate for a relief organization than to put an ad, So it's my job to make it all of the power of marketing. But the other aspect is we do have a newsletter. We publish it twice a week. So if any of you would like to, this is the Syrian American Council. We can add to that. We're going to right? Just 2 newsletters a week. We do have some that are do once a month. So you get it from Syrian activists here or speakers who were in Turkey or Jordan, or maybe sometimes we get it via Skype from somebody who's in one of the part of the liberated areas. One other thing is there's the power of the people. So the whole revolution, for the most part, it has been organized by some young folks who went on Facebook and started a page called the Syrian Revolution. Unfortunately, it's mainly in Arabic because it's talking to people on the ground. So these guys they have about 800,000 followers, which is huge, I think, in the context of Syria. Not everybody has an account and whatnot. And it actually mobilizes the entire country. So every Friday, I said there's a demonstration right after the Friday Mass. So what these guys do is on Monday they put out a vote. What do you want to call? They have a slogan for every Friday. So they put out a vote. It's very democratic. And they say, okay, vote for this. All you Facebook people who follow us, vote for this slogan, one of those 4 slogans. And then they on Wednesday night, they announce this is the slogan. And then throughout the country, the liberated areas, they go out and they say, freedom of democracy, or shame on you, Obama, your red line is elastic, whatever the case might be. But so a lot of what's going on the ground day to day is uploaded to this Facebook page. So what the regime has done, they follow this work. So they create their own page, has about 300,000 followers. But that's really where people can go and get firsthand. There is an English version of that page, is not as frequently updated. But this is what people have done. I think those of you who are active and involved for any cause, I think just a few individuals started this whole thing. I happen to know a few of them, they're just managing this whole sort of PR aspect of the revolution within Syria. So hopefully, if you email me, or I can email Melanie, or you can sign up for the newsletter or some of these resources, not official media outlets, but they are sort of grassroots type.
Do the children understand what's going on, or what are they told? And then also, do they know that this isn't the norm in the world?
From the kids I've met, definitely, they understand that there's war and violence. I don't think that they necessarily really understand why. At a deep level, they're obviously, their parents are there, or, have talked to them. And certainly if they're in the child counseling program, there's a lot of discussion of it. I think they have some realization, but I don't think that they really understand the broad implications of why it's happened. And perhaps, I think the bigger question for children is, well, why is it happening to me? They don't know, they don't necessarily understand why it's happening to them. And if they've done something, often kids will say, like, what did I do to deserve this? Because I did I do something wrong? But I do think that they understand what's happening at a certain level. And so many of their friends have had it happen to them too, so they see that it's very widespread.
Yeah, go for it, and then I think we'll head outside, so we're not interrupting.
Now that America has kind of partnered with Assad in terms of the whole chemical weapon thing, and the war appears to be in a stalemate, and kind of getting rid of the chemical weapons, they say, could take decades. Do you see anything happening to break the stalemate in terms of the refugees? Is there a long-term plan? Or is it what's going on now sustainable in any way?
Yeah. So from day one, right? So the Syrian American, or the Syrian opposition in general. Syria has enough men and women. We don't need anybody to come in and help us. Just allow us to defend ourselves. Give us a fair fight, basically. So nobody asked for U.S. troops on the ground. Nobody wants this. To give us but there has been a reluctance by the international community and also by the U.S. to provide certain level of weaponry. So, for example, because 60-70% of the country is liberated. Liberated in parentheses because any day that the government can just send a couple fighter jets and they just bomb. They throw barrels of TNT. I mean, these are not guided missiles, right? They just drop it on civilians, on schools, on mosques, on churches, whatever. So there's been a reluctance by the international community to really help the opposition have a fair fight. And that's sort of what got us here. And we were hoping that the Syrian American opposition, that there would be a limited strike, and I'm not a pro-war, but if we let this dictator stay around, we come a year from now and we will have double the atrocity, double the killing. So we're still pushing for getting the vetted elements of the opposition, give them what they need so they can have a fair fight. But exactly as you said, it's been a stalemate, and the only people who are suffering from this is, what Cassandra and her team and other, relief organizations see is the suffering of people.
Yeah, no, and I mean, we're not so much engaged in voicing on kind of the political side of the military aspects of it, but I would say that the humanitarian community is bracing for well over 3.5 million by the end of the year, and more coming. I mean, we're building a new camp in Jordan that'll host another 250,000 people. I mean, so certainly the preparations are underway to host a lot more refugees.
Great, okay. Well, I think definitely we can take some more questions just right on the first. I also want to say just thank you to both of our speakers, who are also sitting here. So thank you. Also, if anyone is kind of interested in these issues, Stan is having a meeting starting at 8:30, so you should stick around or feel free to come. Usually we meet at 9 on Wednesdays in this room.
Okay.